Hi, I'm Sara Lerma-Lo, and this is Let's Do It Anyway, a channel that was created from rebels to rebels in business and in life. Those people like you, those people like me, who are willing to go after their goals, after what they want, regardless of the odds or what everyone else says. Let's talk about the real reason why you're not selling as much as you want to. Every small business owner knows this is the worst nightmare. This is the worst thing that could happen when your sales tank. You're not selling as much. There are no customers coming to your business, and the ones that do come through the door, they're not buying as many products and services as you will want them to. And you don't understand what you're doing wrong, right? And you try so many different things and it seems like nothing works. Maybe it even makes it worse. And I have seen this so many different times. I ran a marketing agency for over 12 years and I saw tens of different versions of this. Some of my clients will do something like spend $1,000 a day to try and get people to visit their coffee shop. Needless to say, it didn't work and they just kept spending that money daily for months until we met and we stopped that nonsense. Another one of my clients had a rental business and they decided to cut their prices by 10 times. So they weren't making any money, but they figured if people will get it almost for free, they will come in, they will get to know the business and come back. Another customer of mine was making something like $1 out of each product that she sold for about $50, even though the materials that she needs to make the products over the years had gotten way more expensive, but she didn't increase her prices for fear of losing her customers. These are just some examples of the things we do when we are faced with this horrible nightmare, which is not selling as much as we need. Because obviously if you have a business, you need to pay wages, you need to pay rent, you need to get all of these things covered so you can keep owning a business. So it's very scary not to be able to afford those. And when you've been having a good season and then it stops, or you just open and you don't know how to bring people in, we make all these mistakes over and over and over again. But in reality, what is happening is this one simple thing that is sort of easy to fix. And this very common mistake is that you're basically not speaking to your audience. Very often it happens that we assume that if we like it, if we like the business, if we like the prices, if we like the decor, the marketing, etc., our clients will too. But more often than not, our client is not like us. Let me tell you a story to put that into perspective. I had a client a couple of years ago who was in a very interesting bad situation. So her grandfather had opened this bar back when women were still not very welcome at bars. So it was mostly for men at the time where they will serve men, lunch or food for free as long as they kept on drinking, that sort of a place. Anyways, this place was booming. It was incredibly welcomed by the community. He made a lot of money. He was able to put his children to private school, etc. When he was ready to retire, he inherited the bar to one of his sons. So his son ran the business for another few decades. It stayed about in the same concept and it continued to make a lot of money. So his children not only continued to go to private school, but also they were able to go spend the summers in Europe and go to international schools, all fancy things like that. Well, when he was ready to retire, he didn't have any sons, so he inherited the bar to one of his daughters. And this daughter is the one who became our client. When she received the bar, she decided she didn't like it because she didn't feel welcome there herself, and she thought she will never go to a place like that, so why would other people go? She then proceeded to invest an insane amount of money to redecorate the bar and make it basically very girly and pretty looking. But this bar was in an area of a city that was not very girly and not very cute coffee shop friendly. It was an area of town where a very different concept was gonna be the one to be consumed. So even though her bar now looked fantastic, her former customers who had been eating and drinking there for almost 100 years were now scared to go in, because not only did it look girly, but it also now looked very fancy and very expensive. Now, the people who will consume a bar like that will not be caught dead in this area of the city. And even if they wanted to come, it will be so hard to find parking and just get there that they will never make it. So long story short, she didn't get the clients she was looking for. She did not get women like her to come to this area of town. And she will not get people who were already working in this area of town to come into a bar that looks so expensive, even though the prices and the products were the same. It was just the overall look of the place that had changed so drastically. Well, that's when she came to us and she presented this problem, and to us it was very obvious what needed to happen, right? She was scaring away her main customer that she already had. She literally didn't have to do anything. All she needed to do was just stay the same and keep the quality of the food and beverages to keep on having these customers come in every day like they have been for the past 2, 3, 4 decades. But because she did this, she basically made herself invisible for her former clients and for her desired clients who were never gonna come in. Of course, she did not do a market study or any of those things, but it's not even that complicated. All she needed to do was get to know her customer that she already had, and then focus her marketing efforts on them. And this is what we told her. She, of course, didn't like it after she had invested all this money on fixing the bar and making it look amazing. She also had a very cute Instagram account that looked fantastic. But again, once you saw where the bar was located and how much of a hassle it will be to get there, you will be completely discouraged. So we suggested doing a little bit of a raunchy humor on the Instagram, memes, and a few types of content that she and her other girly friends will absolutely not like. She didn't like the idea. She thought we were unprofessional and not very smart at what we did, and politely said, no, thank you. Well, a few weeks after, she called us back and said she had decided to give us a chance to prove ourselves right. And in about a month, the bar was full and booming again, and it has stayed like that ever since. It's been about 2 years. So the lesson here is that if you know how to speak to your audience, it will be really easy to get them to react the way you want them to. But if you talk to them in a way that they're not going to relate to or understand or empathize with, it's going to be virtually impossible for them to do what you want, in this case, visit your business. It's probably gonna do the opposite, because as I like to say, 99% of the answer depends on how you ask. And if you don't ask in the terms and language and even slang that your audience is using, they're not gonna respond very well. And to prove this, let me tell you another one of my favorite stories. This story is 100% true, and it was a friend of mine who turns out to be a marketing genius, even though she didn't know at the time. So there are situations when you think you are absolutely gonna lose and there is no way out of it. Just like the story I just told you with this customer where she thought she was gonna have to close the bar and there was no way around it. But when you talk to your audience in the right way, you can turn a losing situation not into just not losing, but into a win. So about 10 years ago, when I was in my 20s, me and one of my best girlfriends decided to go watch a soccer game. When the game ended, we stayed back, just hanging out with other friends, finishing our beer or whatever it was we were doing. So by the time we were out of the stadium, the city was pretty empty and dark. There were no cabs to be found. So we decided to walk to the metro station that wasn't super close to try and get back home. When we were walking to a metro station, there was nobody else around us in the street. It was pretty dark, and we were two very young girls just walking by ourselves. After a few minutes, we started to notice this very suspicious guy was walking behind us, like a little too close. We thought we were probably being paranoid, so we just crossed the street. He crossed the street. Then we started walking a little faster, then a little slower, then crossed the street again, and this guy just kept matching us and crossing the street back and forth behind us. So at this point, we were pretty sure we were about to get robbed. I was thinking maybe I should pull the SIM card out of my phone or put my keys on the other pocket, so if he took my purse, at least I will be able to get in my apartment. And this is the perfect example of a mindset of a lose-lose situation, where you really think there's no way out of this terrible thing that's about to happen to you, and the best thing you can do is just try to minimize as much as you can how bad it's gonna be, but you already know it's gonna be bad. And this is how my genius friend turned this losing situation into a win. By that time, the guy was just right behind us, and she turned around and faced him just this close, face to face. So she starts crying, and she tells him that we lost our money somewhere in the stadium, and so now we couldn't take the metro and we're gonna miss the last train to go home. Our parents were gonna be really mad at us and we're gonna be in so much trouble. The first thing this guy did was call her and told her that we shouldn't be out by ourselves this late in an area like this because it was very dangerous. And then he said he wanted us to get home safe, so he himself would walk us to the metro station and lend us some money so we could take the train. And that's what happened. The guy who was going to rob us ended up actually giving us money to pay for the train ride. And then he asked my friend for her number. She gave him a fake number, and that was the end of that. But the lesson to be learned here is that my friend knew exactly how to connect with her audience. In this case, that guy who was about to rob us. She knew how to make him empathize with us. She knew how to tap into his feelings and his priorities and his values, and it worked. And not only did we not lose, but we actually made money out of that situation because he paid for our train ride. So with marketing, it works exactly the same way. Sometimes you think there's no way of getting out of this no sales hole that you're in. But the truth is, if you get to know who it is that's walking behind you, and if you really take a look at them and take the time to understand their motivations, their values, what they care about, and you connect with that, they will really, really do their best to help you and help your business and consume whatever it is you're selling. But how do you do this? And the answer is very simple. You're going to create an avatar. An avatar is a person who looks exactly like your ideal client, and you need to create them and get to know them like you know your best friend, your sister, or your partner, like they are a real person. You need to be able to see them, know how they wear their hair, how they do their makeup, what kind of accessories they wear, where do they shop, what's their favorite food, do they have any allergies, what other brands do they like, what's their favorite movie, what's their favorite band. Once you know all of this about them, even if it sounds silly or like a waste of time, because obviously if you're watching this video, chances are your sales are not where you want them right now. So the last thing you want to do is sit down and create this imaginary friend and get to know what their favorite band and favorite dessert is. But the truth is, when you know exactly what your avatar looks like and what they like, it's gonna be so easy to create bulletproof campaigns on social media or wherever you're posting them that are not gonna fail and that over and over and over again are going to bring you more sales. Lululemon is a brand that uses this technique. The name of their female avatar is Ocean. Feel free to look it up on Google, and that will be a great example. One of the main things that I like to ask the women who work with me to do when they're building the avatar for their businesses is to, once they see them, once they know what they look like, what they're like, how they express themselves, where they like to hang out, to really analyze what are the brands they consume. And I'm not necessarily talking about brands in your same industry, but just brands in general. I'm talking about clothing, I'm talking about restaurants, coffee, beauty products, health products, and then put all those logos and all those brands together so you can look at them and analyze what they have in common. What do their marketing sound like? What does it look like? How often do they post it? In which platforms? And that will tell you where your avatar is at all times and what they better respond to. So instead of having to do A/B testing or doing surveys or finding people like them and asking them, you can just go steal the homework, as Cody Sanchez will say, from the brands that they are already consuming. Because if they are responding to all those brands, chances are if you do something similar, they will respond to yours as well. And something very interesting happens every single time we do this exercise, because once you put together all the brands that you think your avatar will consume, it's very obvious that they have a lot of similarities. So it becomes extremely easy to know what your campaigns need to look like and sound like and where you need to place them so that they start responding. And every single time it works. I recommend you create this avatar in as much detail as possible. Name her, name him, and by the way, you can have more than one. So going back to the Lululemon example, they do have two avatars, a female and a male one. But I'm also currently working with a woman who is building the avatars for her brand, and she actually has 4 different ones. She has such a wide variety of products. And before, she was placing an ad trying to get the attention of all of them at the same time. Now she knows better to create 4 different ads and place them specifically for each one of those avatars, and that way she gets the 4 of them come in to consume her products and services constantly. It's very important that you give your avatar a name, obviously an age, you want to know their occupation, their educational level, and all things like that. But once you have a name, let's say you call your avatar Laura, right? You can look for Laura's, and then because Laura is a real person to you now, it's gonna be really easy to connect. And every time you're outside walking and people watching, you will identify every single Laura that you see, and it will be really easy to get more ideas and more effective marketing strategies that you can build. Specifically honestly, for your avatar, all you have to do is just keep them active at all times. You don't even need to create new ones as often as you did before when you were A/B testing or just trying different things to see what will work. Once you have a campaign that works, all you have to do is use it over and over again. And you can also turn it into a different seasonality. So you can have an evergreen one and then just change the color and put candy cane on it and call it Christmas special, but keep all the same wording, all the same promotions that you already know works. And guess what? It's gonna work all over again. If you don't yet have an avatar for your brand, trust me, it's really worth it to invest 1 or 2 hours in creating one. If I can help you with anything, please feel free to send me a message. And if you like this video and you got any value out of it, please like and subscribe this channel and help us grow just the way we want you and your business to grow.